What's up, guys? Ryan here with the Bluffton Buzz and with Maggie Creeden. We are at Salon Karma. We are here to talk about the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and Maggie's story. Maggie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
It's Friday.
It is Friday. Friday.
Friday, absolutely.
Yeah. So Meg James, I call her May River Manor Meg now.
Yes.
She hit me up. She tied us together. She said, you got to talk to Maggie. The Maggie and Meg thing is always confusing me too. But she said, you got to talk to Maggie. She has a crazy story, and she's really pushing to do something good. Tell us a little bit about your story, and then we'll talk about what we're pushing.
All right. So my story, I'm going to be 10 years cancer-free here in November. So I was diagnosed with T-cell lymphoblastic lymphoma. It's a form of non-Hodgkin's. I was 21 years old, senior in college, went into kidney failure. So your normal symptoms, I had a cough, so I went to the doctor. I had a lump on my neck and told the doctor, I was like, hey, I've had this lump, whatever. And he's like, you're being dramatic. It's nothing. It's just part of your head cold, whatever. Here's a Z-Pack, on with your way. I was like, it just doesn't sit right with me. So went and got a second opinion, and that doctor was like, lump on your neck is not normal. If that's not gone in 24 hours, we're going to put you on a steroid pack. If it's not gone, we're going to biopsy it. Did a bunch of lab work. And that weekend, I went to a football game up at Carolina. And that Sunday, woke up, I had like 15 missed calls from this doctor. I was like, this isn't good. Doctor's calling me on a Sunday. This is obviously pretty serious. So he calls me and he's like, I don't know how to tell you this, but the inconsistencies in your lab work are only getting worse. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? He's like, are you sitting down? And I'm like, all right, now you're really like freaking me out. Like, just shoot me straight, what's going on? And he's like, you're literally in kidney failure right now and you need to go to the emergency room like immediately.
So they connected a lump on your neck to kidney failure through the tests and everything, but it started here.
Correct.
And it was kidney failure was making that happen, or was...
So the cancer
okay.
is what made the lump happen.
Okay.
And the cancer was what was causing the kidney failure.
Holy
so all
moly.
kind of just related.
Okay.
So at that point, cancer wasn't even on anybody's radar. They were just like, you're in kidney failure. We need to get you here. So he's like, go to the emergency room, tell them that you're Maggie Creeden, and they'll take you right back. And I'm like, this isn't a hotel. It's not like you just check in. Like, I'll be waiting at the ER for hours. And he goes, oh, and nobody, like, you have to ride with someone because you're in kidney failure. Like, you could, like, drop dead. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm like, can you call my mom? Like, she's down in Bluffton. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. And he goes, yeah, I'll call her, whatever. So we head to the hospital. Sure enough, I walk into that emergency room, and I'm like, hi, I'm Maggie Creeden. Dr. Buzzhart sent me. And it was, like, SWAT team. Like, whisked in. Everybody in the waiting room is like, this girl just walked in like totally normal, and she all of a sudden just like bumps, you know, everybody that's here waiting. So at that point, it was just a whirlwind of things. Tests, hooking me up to IVs, getting my kidneys jump started.
Can I ask you a quick question? Like, in that, you know, the Columbia trip, your mom came and got you?
She drove from Bluffton to Columbia.
And then brought you back down? Is that where the hospital is? What hospital did you go to?
We stayed in Columbia at Palmetto Richland. I was there for 3.5 weeks. So I was admitted on September 28th-ish of 2014. That next day, they did a kidney biopsy because they're like, we're going to figure out who your donor is, get you a match. We're going to teach you about dialysis. And I'm just like, I've got class on Monday. Like, is that even like a part of my schedule?
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you feel any like certain way? Like, did you feel like you were about to drop dead?
No. So I had no symptoms of kidney failure whatsoever. No back pain, nothing.
That's
and
crazy.
that's like normally your like indicator is like severe lower back pain. The only symptoms I had prior is I dropped a bunch of weight, which what girl isn't gonna like dropping a bunch of weight where I didn't even do anything. So I was like, oh, okay, like I'm getting skinny. This is nice. Super tired, but I wrote it off. I'm a college student, you know, I'm going to football games, I'm going out, I'm you know, partying, having a good time, whatever. Getting some random bruises, and again, that's a girl thing. What's that random bruise from? So just simple things that you just write off that you just don't think twice about. And then they did the kidney biopsy, and then they were like, it's gonna take 24 hours to get these results. We're at about hour 36, and I hadn't gotten results, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, this is gonna be pretty serious. Like, they're double checking to make sure whatever's going on is what it is. And sure enough, on September 30th, the doctor knocked on the door, took my mom out first. And I had friends in my hospital room at that point. And I told them, I was like, whatever's going on, they're telling her first, which they're already breaking HIPAA law because I'm 21. So this is serious. They need her to absorb this first. And yeah, sure enough, the doctor comes in and she was like, have you ever heard of lymphoma? And I was like, you're joking. She's like, yeah, you've got cancer. And then from that moment, I was just like, your whole life stops because you're like, okay, now what? What does that mean? Like, you hear that word and you're like, am I going to die? Am I going to live? Like, obviously chemo and, you know, all the other things that go into it.
Did you like, it's a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Honest answer. Scared? S-less? I was about to drop the S-bomb. Or were you like, no, I got this? Or was it something in between? Was it just, I'm trying to walk through your story here.
Yeah.
Where was your head at when you heard this news?
When I heard that word, I mean, literally, like, everything stopped, and I was kind of in denial. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm 21 years old. I'm a senior in college. I'm relatively healthy. Like, how does this happen? And my nanny had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when she was older. So I'm like, I'm not 70 years old.
Yeah, I'm too young for this. Yeah.
Exactly. So in that moment, I was definitely, like, terrified because I didn't know, like, what my new life was about to look like. But at the same time, I was like, all right, we figured it out. Let's go. Like, game time. What's next?
Okay.
What's the next step? Let's do it. And, people know about cancer. They know you go bald. They know you do chemo. But you don't know the nitty-gritty details. So I think that for me was a whole learning process. And people at work and my friends joke all the time. They'll text me and they're like, hey, I have a medical question. And I was like, okay, I'm not a doctor. I'm just like a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
So from there, they were like, we need to make sure this didn't go to your bone marrow. So I did a bone marrow biopsy, and thank God it didn't go there. And basically with it going to the bone marrow would have meant that I would have needed a bone marrow transplant. I would have been in and out of remission for my whole life. So I just would have been going, through chemo treatments literally from 21 through until whenever. So it didn't go there. So they just did a jump start. They started it was called intrathecal chemo. So they put it through a spinal tap. So it would go in, remove spinal fluid, put chemo in. So they started those in Columbia. And then my team of doctors there, Dr. Butler was his name, the oncologist, he's like, I've never seen this type of cancer, and I'm not comfortable. And I was like, props to you, because most people would have been like, fake it till you make it. Like, we're going to just try our best. So they gave me a list of options of hospitals to go to, and MUSC in Charleston was one of them. At the time, my brother was 13, and my mom's a single parent, so she's like, I can't really fly you to Sloan Kettering to New York. I can't really travel to Emory in Atlanta, so MUSC, it's an hour and a half away. And I was like, yeah, and, Bluffton's home, so anything that happens, 10 years, 20 years, Charleston's super close.
Yeah.
So they transferred me there. So I was inpatient for about a week, and I was responding well to chemo. So they're like, do you want to go home? I'm like, yes, I've been in the hospital for a month. Like, get me out of here. So transitioned to outpatient chemo, and from there I did chemo for 3.5 years. I had 150 rounds through my port. I had over 40 spinal taps of chemotherapy, chemo pills, steroids, tons of blood infusions, platelets, plasma, cryo. I mean, I've learned things that your body requires that I'm like, wait, what is that? Like, just wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you keep a smile on your face.
Absolutely.
You don't seem like a woe is me kind of person,
Glass
which I
is
appreciate.
always half full.
I like that. I like that. So you've been through a lot. You are a survivor of how many years now?
It'll be 10 years, November 6th.
Perfect. And the tie-in here with the society is, tell me about it.
Yeah, so the LLS, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, has a competition for Visionary of the Year. So for the next, now 9 weeks, but it's a 10-week competition against me and 13 other candidates to raise the most money. So
is that state or local?
So it's Savannah area.
Savannah area, 13 people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, but LLS is a nationwide organization. So their big thing is helping to, fund finding the cure and finding new advancements in treatments, helping cancer patients, cancer survivors, their parents, their family, just have to provide support.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest thing, when I was diagnosed at 21, social media was not a huge thing.
Yeah.
So I felt very by myself. I had my friends and my family obviously rallying around me, but I had nobody to instantly connect with and be like, hey, did you have this happening to you? Hey, what was it like when you lost your hair? Hey, what did it feel like when you had this treatment? So I think, my pillar for my campaign is advocacy and support, because I think that that's something super important.
Were they there for you in your time? Like, how did
they were
how
a
did
resource?
They tie in?
I was able to, reach out if I needed anything. But I think a big thing is just their research as well in a cure. So there are certain, I met one of the candidates, she's also a leukemia survivor, and she's now 33 years cancer-free.
Wow.
But one of the drugs that she did was vincristine, and that's one of the ones that got me into remission. So like 33 years ago, she was like a study for it. And then, 20 some odd years later, that's what I was receiving, and that's what helped me push to get into remission.
And the LLS kind of helps that whole operation.
Funding,
funding of it.
So the big thing too is, finding a cure for cancer obviously means like you're cancer-free. But a different perspective of it is my regimen was 3.5 years. There's some patients now that only have to go through similar diagnosis, but a year and a half of treatment. So there's still advances. It's not the full 3.5 years. It's now shortening to that year and a half. So I'm running as Visionary of the Year. They came to me last summer. They came to me when I was septic, and they're like, "Do you want to run as Visionary of the Year? We know you have a lot going on." And I was like, "Absolutely." And my mom was like, "Maggie, can you focus on one thing?" I'm
So
like, "I'll be good by then."
what was the septic thing? Tell me about that.
Because of all my chemotherapy and the steroids, I have what's called avascular necrosis. So it's just long-term steroid use, not bodybuilding steroids. It's just, beat cancer steroids.
Right.
So I have no blood flow to my knee and hip joints. So my hip basically just deteriorated. So I was a candidate for a full hip replacement. Got it done 9 days after my 30th birthday. And my doctor was like, "You're going to be the poster child for this. You're going to be good in, 2 weeks." I go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. So he's like, "You're in good shape. You're young. You'll be good." And I think that just, totally jinxed everything.
Yeah.
So they took my staples out, and I was just in so much pain, like more than before. I was like, there is something like wrong. And they're like, "No, just wait it out." And I was like, something just doesn't feel right. So the next day after getting my staples out, I woke up, could hardly walk. I had 104 fever, covered in head to toe red rash, and I'm getting dizzy, headaches. And then I started throwing up. And my mom was like, "We got to take you to the emergency room." Get to the emergency room, and we tell them the whole thing, and the nurse looked at me and she's like, "I don't want to scare you, but you are septic." And I'm like, "Okay, now what?" So again, just kind of like how I was in Columbia, they wheeled me back there, and it was like a SWAT team, and I had IVs in both arms. They did the whole sepsis protocol. I was at Coastal. They had to transport me to Hilton Head, had emergency surgery, so they pretty much took my whole hip out again, cleaned it all out, put it back in. And then I was in the ICU for a week, so I had to figure out what exactly the infection was. Like, we can't send you home. Like, we got to figure out what it is and figure out how to treat it. So I was in the ICU for a week, got a blood clot. So then I had to go through that whole, process. Had a PICC line put in, and I had 3 different types of infections in my hip. One of them was strep. I was like, I didn't even know you can get strep in your hip. Apparently you can get strep anywhere, not just your throat. Yeah, see the things you learn.
You're like a pincushion.
Yeah.
And you're smiling, which I love. And I can jokingly say that to you, because if somebody was crying right now, I'm like, "I'm so sorry." But you're
no. I mean, I'm like, it is what it is.
Keeping a great attitude about it. So they came to you while you're going through that to be Visionary of the Year. What does that exactly mean? Like, what is Visionary of the Year mean? What is your vision?
So my
how does that
vision,
work?
honestly, is, so one of my best friends got diagnosed with cancer September 1st of this past year. And I had already accepted my nomination to run for this. But her getting diagnosed, I was like, this is all the more reason why I'm running, is to, draw awareness. Obviously, Visionary of the Year, I want to win that title of being Visionary of the Year. My biggest thing is I want to spread awareness. I want to, be supportive people. This whole campaign, so I have a team of 14 other ladies that are helping me in this fundraising efforts.
Okay.
I told them, I said, when you tell people that you're, helping the LLS and you're running on a team for Visionary of the Year, I said, the stories that you're going to hear is just going to change your life. Like, so many people are impacted by cancer. I'm sure you know somebody who had cancer.
Absolutely.
So it's just, to raise that awareness, gain that support, help, raise as much money as we can. It costs $235,000 for someone to get a bone marrow transplant.
Wow. Does insurance cover that?
Part,
not enough.
Not enough, exactly.
Yeah.
So, whether I raise $5,000, $20,000, $100,000, whatever it may be, it's going to help someone. I mean, my journey with cancer probably cost me $315,000.
Wow.
Just, with insurance. So without insurance, I'm $1 million right here.
That's insane. So you are here at Salon Karma because they're helping you in this visionary process. And you had mentioned before we started shooting, there's other awesome locations around town that I'm a big fan of you connecting with all. You start saying locations, I'm like, oh, I'm glad you're doing that. Tell me some of the other spots or all of them.
Yeah, so Salon Karma, this whole week until tomorrow, you schedule a blowout. It's donation only.
Okay.
And then for the entire month of March, if you call the salon, hey, I want to book a blowout for the LLS, you do a blowout and it's donation only.
Okay.
So Kim, the owner of the salon, she's actually my carpool mom.
Can I get like a Jersey Shore blowout?
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. So Kim's the owner. She was my carpool mom. I've known her since I was probably 10 years old. So she was, saw the whole journey of cancer. And when I asked her to be on the team, she was like, absolutely.
Okay.
And then the stylist, Samantha, is the only girl that's done my hair since it grew back.
Okay.
So she's like, she's like, not cool, but like, it's cool because most 20 some odd year olds have already like fried their hair, dyed it themselves, like have done something. And she goes, your hair is untouched.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know, nobody's going to touch it except for you. So we got Salon Karma on board, Burnt Church Distillery, Wine Time, Bluffton Candle. Primetime Girl's going to do a kickoff event for us on February 28th. We got cornbread for live music, giveaway items. R-Bar just said yes yesterday to do a give back for us on March 9th.
Good.
So, we've got a lot of things planned. I kind of wanted to set a good schedule of events to start. And then as we kind of got this thing rallying, there's so many businesses that are like, oh, here's a gift card. Here's a giveaway. Here's this.
Yeah.
Bluffton Inn's going to do something. May River Manor is going to do something. I'm trying to think of other gift certificates that I have. Lux donated a bunch of stuff for us for giveaway items. So it's awesome to, get the community together, and, the LLS just doesn't help just one specific person. It helps so many people. And I think the important thing with what their research is blood is the most testable subject matter. So they find cures not just for leukemia lymphoma. Those cures that they're finding, they start testing on breast cancer patients, lung cancer patients, stomach cancer patients. Because, if you test on, a breast tissue sample, once you test on it once, it's done. You have to get new. Blood is constantly being recreated, so you're always able to test on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really
so,
cool.
Yeah.
So if folks watching this want to see where the schedule of events is, do you have one?
I do. So
how do we access that?
www.teamdefyingtheodds.com. It's my whole story.
Okay.
It's got all my team on there. There's an event tab on there. You can follow me on Facebook, Team Maggie. Follow me on Instagram, Team Defying the Odds. And then another thing too that I forgot to mention, I'm also hosting a blood drive.
Okay.
So blood is super, super important with the journey of a cancer patient. I honestly lost track of how many blood infusions that I required. And I actually required 16 units of blood last summer through my whole hip journey. People forget, and I'm very guilty of it. When I think blood, someone needs a blood infusion, I'm thinking like victim of like super big trauma, like car accident, what you might have it. But cancer patients require it so much. So I'm having a blood drive on March 6th. We're going to have the lunch lady there with a food truck. We've got live music. So if there's any donors that listen to your podcast, come on down. I'll have a link for that for the sign up.
Good.
So.
Okay. And then so if and when you win, visionary, I was about to say legendary, visionary of the year, like what entails that title now? What do you do?
So Gala is April 20th over in Savannah. And so, like I said, it's a blind competition. So I have no idea where my competitors are sitting. And it's a big secret. Nobody shares that information. And at Gala, even then, you still don't know. Like, you'll know, like, I know my whole team's goal. But even then, there's going to be a live auction. There's a Fund the Fight mission. There's a couple of other parts of Gala that help you raise money to go towards your total.
Okay.
So someone could be way behind in the lead, and they get to Gala, and all of a sudden they just blow it out of the water.
And is that by bringing people to it, or how do you blow them out of the water?
So you invite people at your Gala tables. People can buy your auction items via a web link. Those aren't available until 3 days before Gala.
Okay.
And then just straight donations while they're there in the moment. And once I win Visionary of the Year, that's my goal. It's mostly just getting involved with the LLS chapter here. Depending on how much money you raise, there's potentially a trip to New York to kind of see the research facility, and just kind of meet the doctors behind all the research in the cure for LLS. And then just my connection to the LLS chapter here locally. We've got a little boy of the year and a little girl of the year, Aspen and Finn. There are 4 and 6, I believe. Unfortunately, Finn actually just relapsed, so we are in the process of finding a bone marrow match for him. So one of the things that I have in all of my other events going on is to do a Be the Match program. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's just a cheek swab. So Be the Match, you just do a cheek swab, you send it off to Be the Match, and then you're kind of put in a database, and then whoever needs a bone marrow transplant, they call you, they're like, hey, we've got a match for you. And then you go through that bone marrow donation process.
And where can you do that swab?
BeTheMatch.com. You can go to their website, and they'll send you the kit. And it's just a little kit, and you just do it, and then you send it back to them, and then they do all the logistic legwork from behind the scenes.
Very cool. So let's recap it real quick. Visionary of the Year, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. Your link again is
www.teamdefyingtheodds.com.
Teamdefyingtheodds.com. And your social links?
We've got Team Maggie on Facebook and Team Defying the Odds on Instagram. And then my personal is M_Creed, CREED.
Perfect. All right. Let's help Maggie become the Visionary of the Year. All right. So go to the Defying the Odds. Teamdefyingtheodds.com.
Yes.
Teamdefyingtheodds.com. You can donate there. You can see where the other events are. You can help participate in local business and donate, and then also find out more about the gala, right?
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. It's a lot. I know. I've said to everybody, I'm like, I feel like I have 175 browser tabs open in my head at all times with this campaign.
Welcome to my
but
life.
it's awesome.
Yeah, with
but
this,
I mean,
I'm
it's
sure
like
it's even more.
It's very rewarding, and
Yeah.
you know, I've met so many people just sharing their stories. I met a lady yesterday. She's like, I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she was like super sad, and you know, I was like, no. I go, you can be sad in the shower, get your cry out, scream in the car. And I go, but it's your best foot forward. You got to have your game face on. She's like, you're right, game face. I was like, yes.
I love the positivity. I do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this.
you.
I'm all about it. TeamDefyingTheOdds.com.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on the Bluffton Buzz. We'll see you soon.